On January 15, 1919, at 12:30 p.m., a molasses tank in Boston burst, sending a wave of sticky, sweet doom over the nearby North End neighborhood. This was no ordinary molasses, however. This was a special extra thick molasses made for industrial use. Well, for the last half-century, molasses had been shipped around the world in giant steel storage tanks, the largest of which could hold up to 2 million gallons. In fact, it was so thick that it required the addition of water to make it flow properly. So the Purity Distilling Company built their tank near a water tower in order to pipe water into the molasses to keep it at a pourable consistency. But they didn't account for one crucial detail. You see, molasses expands when it freezes, and the tank had no expansion room. So as the weather turned cold in the winter of 1919, the molasses froze and expanded, putting immense pressure on the tank walls. And in 1918, the Purity Distilling Company decided to build one of these tanks in Boston. Molasses spilled out of the broken tank and cascaded down the street at 35 miles per hour, much like a deadly wave. It knocked people off their feet, overturned cars and buildings, and even snapped telephone poles in half like they were made of candy. Entire families were wiped out, never to be seen again. And those who survived the initial wave were often trapped under the sticky, syrupy mess, unable to move, unable to call for help, left to die a horrible and slow death. The plan was to use the molasses to produce industrial alcohol, which at the time was a key ingredient in everything from plastics to explosives. And this catastrophe would become known as the Great Molasses Flood or the Boston Molasses Disaster. But how did this happen? Now, molasses is sticky when it's fresh, but this molasses was extra sticky because of the manufacturing process. It's considered to be one of the worst industrial disasters in U.S. history, and you can still see the scar where the wave hit the buildings in Boston's North End today. Then on January, as temperatures rose above freezing, the molasses began to melt and the pressure inside the tank caused it to burst. In total, 21 people died in the Boston Molasses Flood of 1919, with many more injured and missing. Thanks for watching.